It's
Oh
a
wow,
parrot.
it's a parrot. The motifs are also so beautiful. You'd given her this pink suit. And I sent you a picture also कि मेरी मम्मी के पास same suit था. Then I made a video about it. Everybody line से सब कह रहे थे मेरी मम्मी के पास भी था, मेरी मम्मी के.
While she's running on the snow, this is isekai version. Oh, this is
Oh, okay.
turquoise and that was pearl white color.
They are so badass, fashionably badass. और इतना सारा drama. If you like Yashna's style in Hi Nana and wondering परिणीति ने केसरी में ये क्या पहना है, और you think बॉबी ने जजमेंटल है क्या में इतने अजीब कपड़े क्यों पहने हैं, then you're going to love this video because we have the brains behind these costumes, Mr. Sheetal Iqbal Sharma, who has worked on so many different movies, including Gangubai, which you won an award for, among many other awards, of course, Animal, Sita Ramam. Sheetal, one of my most watched videos is from your work, Sita Ramam. It crossed like 25 million views. That is how much it was loved. And my first ever video that I made was also of your work. It was also Gangubai's.
How amazing. Seriously, wow. I'm so glad that you noticed all these things. Yeah, so cool.
And when I thought of starting this series, I could not think of anyone better, because ek to you seem like my lucky charm.
How sweet, how sweet. Thank you. Yeah.
And secondly, because we've developed this bond, based on the mutual interests we share. And there's a
Yeah.
certain level of comfort with you. I can tell you whatever I want without, worrying what you'll think. So that is another reason why I wanted to start with you.
Amazing. I'm feeling already privileged that, like someone like you who puts everything so thoroughly researched and, put a thought behind everything what you put in your videos are such thoughtful, so everything what I have thought, like it's been presented without even we having any discussion. You have already put them so nicely. And I keep reading people's comments. That's what I love reading on your videos when you put, no, I love reading those.
Thank you. So our first question is, पहले तो हमें बताओ why and how costume design.
Like I was doing my BA, then I got into hotel management, and I almost like did 1.5 year of hotel management back in 2002, 2003. People used to go this aptitude test, like where it was a very in thing then, like where parents would send their kids to like understand what they will make it better in, like studies wise or like career wise. So very funny, like I got into my aptitude test mentioned that I should get into dramatics or something related to art. So and then dramatics so like not possible because then I got into like I thought hotel management also something in art, like because I was always good in cooking. I've always observed like my mom, my grandmother like cooking food. So there was वो एक interest हमेशा से था कि खाना अभी भी मैं खाना बहुत अच्छा बनाता हूँ. बट देन आई थॉट लाइक कि वो भी फिर उसमें पता है क्या हुआ होटल मैनेजमेंट में ये आ गया मैथ्स आ गया बुक कीपिंग अकाउंट कीपिंग ऑल दोस थिंग्स लाइक सो आई वाज लाइक आई स्टार्टेड लूजिंग इंटरेस्ट नहीं हो पा रहा है अब लाइक एंड क्वाइटली लेफ्ट द कॉलेज एंड started working in a call center. Then back in my head, like I always was aware that I want to do something into art, like so I thought of doing what is this, graphic designing. Didn't work for too much of technology. Couldn't understand that at all. Like then somebody and then everybody made like fun that, oh, you're joining fashion designing. It's a housewife. They do it like it's a hobby thing. How will you make a career out of it and all those things, like But I think it was very fairly new back in 2004, 2005 to join a fashion college, and then
Yes.
a lot of these UK based colleges are opening in Bombay, Pune. So I joined this one college called Vegan in Leh, and then I think that was the point where I was introduced to this whole world. Like, I come from an army background, like, where my father, like, completely, like, like, stern, doing things on time, and, like, I was the most opposite person
Disciplined.
of everything, like, no discipline at all. But I think my mother always had that thing of embroideries and knack of colors and all these things, which I keep observing. So I didn't choose to become a fashion designer because I think while studying in London, I realized that the education and working there and everything was turning too expensive. So I came back to India and somehow I got through one of my college seniors who used to work in film industry, and she introduced me to the film world, and here I'm still working on like, doing films.
That was in 2011, huh, Miss Lovely?
9 and 2010, I started working in film industry. And yeah, Miss Lovely was my first film.
So the first costumes I want to talk about is जजमेंटल है क्या में एंड में एक गाना आता है बकरा स्वैग और वो पहली बार है जब मैंने क्रेडिट्स रिवाइंड कर करके देखे किसी मूवी के जस्ट सो आई कुड चेक आउट हर लुक्स दे आर सो बैडएस फैशनेबली बैडएस और इतना सारा ड्रामा मतलब ओए होए नेक्स्ट लेवल है ना मुझे उन चारों लुक्स के बारे में जानना है बिगिनिंग विथ वो जो स्टार्टिंग में उन्होंने पहना है ना जैसे एक फंकी वर्जन ऑफ सलवार कमीज लेकिन वो उसमें थोड़ा
Yeah.
अलादीन वाइब्स आ रही हैं
तो हमने ये किया था जैसे शी इज वॉकिंग उसमें ना वो हंटर पकड़ के हाथ में आ रही है सीढ़ियों से तो बखरा सवाई से तो पंजाबी ट्यून ना सो वी थॉट के छोटी सी कुर्ती को बट लेट्स ट्राई एंड ट्विस्ट इट विद अ कॉर्सेटेड कुर्ती लाइक अ ट्यूब कुर्ती worn with a like a घेरेदार पटियाला so it gives like a very like a nice fitted on the waist and it's very short if you see and then the घेरा salwar and she's wearing jutti with it and all so there was like, and then the high pony was very high fashion, for that wing eye and all. We had done all those things. Yeah. Now, when you're saying that, I remember, yeah, it was very like cool and quirky. And
या
this is, but my equation with Kangana and all her films, no, I try to get that little quirk factor because among a lot of actors, no, she's the one who's very experimental with her looks. To kind of, she gives me like full liberty. Like, if you trust me to that level, that okay, I know you'll create something cool. So we could manage, and then in the second look, I think which look you're talking about? Like
the denim jacket with like studs and all and and she wears a hat also
I think she
yeah
was wearing the cop cap or the hat. I'm forgetting that, but yeah, we had done a big bouffant on the hair and all, with
हाँ
like
and she wears
yeah, like
denim ka boots also denim boots and gloves
yeah. Oh yeah. So again, so took some little inspiration from how who's that little Rihanna, that how Rihanna
हाँ
puts her things together, in a way. So of course, a big fan of the way she puts her things together, and again, this song was fully quirky, so we could get some inspiration vibe and all from Beyonce, Rihanna, they are literally they are the quirk, high fashion space where they get into, and I'm still stuck in my vintage world. And also for me, it was, to get something, make it look quirky and then still play with those colors and try to put that, how like denim boots or leather red boots and all, we tried these things.
and those spikes on her shoulder and the fur coat she wears with the crown
All these, so it has a slight Beyonce vibe to it, if you see it, little bit of inspiration from there, like the Queen feel, and also I remember all these in the morning, my team we all are sitting and putting the studs and we are attaching the fur because we got like a rope made. It looked very incomplete, so we just bought fur from like a tiny little shop around the corner and just put those things.
really
A lot of DIY on the songs.
it doesn't look like that at all
You don't even know how many things are falling from here and there. Chains were falling. The necklace was hurting her on the back, but she still kept doing all this moving on the neck and all.
I wish I could wear these looks in real life यार पर ऐसा कोई occasion मुझे नहीं लगता आएगा so three of the characters which Kangana has played you've done the costumes for all three are super cool they are really a little bit of badass also one is Payal from Katti Batti one is Agni from Dhakad and another one is Bobby from Judgmental Hai Kya and now Payal is more bohemian cool जैसा ना Agni is rough and tough cool.
Yeah.
And then Bobby is like crazy and cool. Matlab, her outfits though are all over the place, just like her.
She's like a child at the head and putting things together.
Yeah. So how is the style of Bobby different from Agni and Payal? How are they different? कैसे style किया?
I think you mentioned them all in a very interesting way already. In Katti Batti, we completely Payal as a character, art school and fashion school students, they always have some element which stands out, and then, back in 2000 also, there was this film, 2001, 2002 film Laksh, which was a very way ahead of his time looking film, so we took a little inspiration from that film also, how Preeti Zinta was presented as the character, so also she kept changing the look in the film, if you notice, with the span
Yes.
of time. But then we got this, the whole thing of that Kangana, okay, is a fashion student, and fashion student never stagnant in their style. They will do something to their hair, they will do something to their clothing, they will wear some very funky boots. So again, we got that very cool inspiration to like, like कि वो प्रीति जिंटा की skirt ले लो, but उसको हमने from somewhere in Rajasthan, we had picked like these cushion covers, which had that hand embroidery, that mochi work, what is called ना, वो लेके हमने उसका एक corset बना दिया था उनके लिए. Then we had picked very vague, very like small pieces of jewelry and we made those necklaces. Her like, those little charms what she was wearing. I think all these fashion was still very catching up back in 2012, 2013 and like, those super short denim shorts with like voluminous shirt like tucked in with a hat and all like, those and boots. So I think that's what people back then in 2013, 2014, the film came out. They're like, oh, like, this is very cool and new. And again, Kangana, like, wearing it became like a little talk of the town then, like, to,
हाँ.
uh, uh, but yeah, sadly the film didn't do that well, but her fashion was spoken, about a lot, like even her, that pixie look, what she did, we had done this from that Audrey Hepburn, that maximum of the interviews I gave for her, that little short hair wig with like that velvet dress, where she's in a bob pixie hair, like very, 50s, 60s, very summer dress. We gave her, velvet deep burgundy color where she's wearing like, we gave her how kids used to wear those little socks, which is up till the ankle with like little lace and all, and she's wearing stilettos with it and all, like, and it's an halter dress, very summer 50s dress, with a lot of volume on the flare. So, these things became very fashion people back then, like, started talking about, okay, this dress is very cool. It's so like getting back to the vintage fashion and all those things. So it caught an eye, like, yeah.
I remember back then we also like this bohemian fashion you're talking about. I also bought some silver jewelry and stuff and those jhola bags because of this trend going on.
Yeah, it was very Delhi Janpat. You see a lot of
Yes,
these junk jewelry, and we went shopping Delhi like crazy. We shopped so much for her from Delhi, like her boots and all from Sarojini, her जनपद की जो आपको टिपिकल बोहो ज्वेलरी मिलती है ना, हमने वो सब तोड़ के कॉइन्स को निकाल के उसमें इयररिंग्स बनवाई थी, ब्रेसलेट्स बनवाए थे. फिर वो you get those fake origami flowers, they sell on the streets. We made those little hair flower bands and all out of it. We also made like बैग के ऊपर हमने बहुत सारी अजीब सी वो coins और mirror work और के सब patches लगाए थे. We had put like suede leather tassels on the bag and all. We done all these things, like.
wow. Oh wow, it's so interesting to know.
And then coming to Dhakad, where she was like completely like a badass, like a cop, not a cop, like a raw agent, but again, the Bollywood style version of like a raw agent who gets into like, makeovers and like, looks are changed and also, yeah, but the whole thing was to keep that high fashion vibe in Dhakad because also the director wanted the film to look very like, out of the box, very cool, quirky. So that was where, again, I would use the word quirky every time for Kangana because she's the only person where I can get to do that most vague out of the box things and she will never question me that why am I doing this. So that then coming to uh, the most favorite character till date of mine where I have like loved dressing was Judgmental, like, yeah, because it was a mix of colors, throwing things on her, the way she
Yes.
carried each and every look with that bob cut hair with those little weird tic tac pins and all with that bag purse. So we had got in fact even in my team, whoever's worked with me for years, they all only mention till date about Bobby as a character, like,
It was really fun watching her as well. Matlab, the way you've mixed stuff, it looks like it really represents and depicts her in what's going on, the inside.
So here he specifically said, I don't want to see anything fashion, but I want fashion. I don't want colors, but I want colors. So we were in like, it's Prakash Kovalamudi. I can still not forget his name. One of the best directors I ever worked with, like, very quirky, very like, very intellectual. We had like a thorough, like a mentioned detail of how the character grew. Though we didn't show it in the film, but we had a backstory to work on to reach till here, like how she is like that. We got graphic designers to make these very vague prints. I wouldn't say that, it just sounds like I'm praising myself, but these these massive prints, on plain t-shirts are so in now. Like, where people have that, wear like, a very oversized skirt with an oversized top piece. So we are thinking like, so my team and all, we still discuss sometimes that the people who worked with me on that film, like, it was such a ahead of its time model of film. Like, if you go to see, like, where she was wearing these very cool sneakers with a knee length skirt and an oversized t-shirt with like some very weird bag she's holding, which is a handcuff hanging to it. This quirky fashion is so in right now. So, but and that relaxed athleisure wear, like what we tried on her, where she's wearing oversized track pants with like oversized t-shirt and a jacket hoodie. If you notice in the film, like there are a lot of these little details. Even like those there were certain things which had to enter the scene that way, where she's looking into the keyhole to the other side of the film, and we made a very small little print on the back where the person is standing with a torch. On we only see the print of the face and the torchlight. So there's a lot of things to kind of compare and show the scene's progression. The entire wardrobe of Bobby was my favorite because everything was made for that character. There was nothing that you gone from a shelf and picked it. Everything was like DIY, cut sleeves, add something to it, or make a t-shirt with this kind of print, or make a skirt with those weird faces on it and all those, the red sweater with the insects ka embroidery on it and all. Everything was like made, like,
Wow. It
so,
wasn't
so I
sourced.
think that nothing in that film is sourced at all. Like, like everything like was made for her. And the best part in the film was her imagination of the Ramayana. If you
Yes.
have seen, I think that was something which we went like completely dystopian. In her brain, she's hallucinating. So we got this full whole thing to make like a out of the box ideas of Ram's blue color, where he's only
Yes.
head is painted blue and his outfits are. So there was a massive, I could say, like creative rush in that film.
That is actually my next question. There's two characters that work with her.
Yeah, actually, yeah, there were three. Ram, yeah,
There's
there was
three, but
Ramji,
ha.
Hanumanji, and Jatayu.
Yes. Where did you get the inspiration for those costumes?
It was completely like on the space to we wanted to show Ram as the king, and she in her head is playing Sita already, where she's going through like the trauma of being in Ravan's kingdom. So the whole mind space was like that to kind of develop a character who's caught in a evil atmosphere, and Ram keeps representing her hope and freedom, and Hanuman is like adding the strength to her, and Jatayu is a savior. So she keeps like speaking to them and they're always like guiding her. And so the inspiration for all these things that we made, like, of course, when you talk about Ram, we always think about the king with the most ethics for, and also being a warrior. So we made this very vague armory, which was like a very dystopian. It didn't look like, how we see an armor now. So we had made with very raw articles to put like, like we made a fiber, three-paneled shoulder armor, and even we painted his face like to give like a very holy, like a spiritual incline. The entire forehead was blue in color. Then we did for Hanuman. Hanuman we went very quirky. We gave him a little photographer jacket with like his embroidered thing like on the shorts, and his jacket had this very quirky pins. To show made like an armor, and then even Jatayu, we had gone like that whole fur, like a feathered thing for his wings, and everything was attached. So we sketched these things, and then, of course, getting them like made from our brilliant karigars and tailors to kind of fix it technically how we have to punch where so the wings open in a very cool way and doesn't hinder actors. So we did all these interesting things like,
Yeah, I love those looks, and especially Ram wears, this drape.
So what we did was like was a silk dhoti. What we again the print was very like we taken a slightly ajrak print thing because but it was still blue, but we draped it in like a slightly hip hop. It had a slight hip hop vibe to it, so it looked like and we also gave boots and all to wear with it. We were trying to get that dystopian Ramayan space sorted in there. So without like harming to make anything look funny or anything look like vague, and she's hallucinating these things. So we, of course, now from her point of view, where she's a childlike person in the head, how she would create this in her head. So we it was a blank paper for us to make these characters, and still not make them look mythological.
Yes, and the contrast in their outfit is what I really, really liked with the, drape, but with boots and stuff. I want to talk about Parineeti's costumes in Kesari. Now, she was only in one song, but it left such an impact, created such a nostalgia, and such authentic representation of Fulkari. these days in mainstream fashion, we think fulkari is full of embroidery and, it has to be in bright colors. But that's not the case, right? It's traditionally what you showed was like, कैसे मिले ऐसे फुलकारी दुपट्टे कहाँ से लाए?
You spoke at the right time. I've kept one, two of those Fulkari dupattas from that film. I've kept them with me because they were
Wow.
so nicely done. We got them done in Amritsar, and we done the little finishing of embroidery here in Bombay because you know you still walk into these old lanes where there are small little shops near, in fact, near Golden Temple only. When you walk there is a whole market. So we became friends with one of the vendors, and the vendor showed us where they get these beautiful hand embroidered things done. So they're like these women sitting and doing embroideries, and we gave them, and we had good time for that film to prep. We had good 6, 7 months to prep Parineeti's character. She keeps coming in pockets, and in the film there were two songs in fact, and one of the songs where she's getting married, so we got those. I'll show one of the things which was like a very old embroidery which you don't get anymore, so with this
Oh, wow.
gotedar, like you see that work and all, it's very pretty with the colors, we
Yes.
had used this on her where she's kept on her shoulder while she's entering the Ghar Pravesh ho raha hai. She had kept on her shoulders, this.
Haan.
Uh, then there was one more which again completely, it was, I wouldn't call it Fulkari, but it was that massive, beautiful, that little
Wow. The hand
geometrical
embroidery.
embroidery, yeah, hand embroidery with these kind of booties of,
Oh, wow. These
you
are
know,
lovely. These are all hand
yeah.
embroidered.
Yeah, they're completely hand embroidered. Yeah, we got them all done. Then we did finishing and all to make it look work with the clothes. We add this
Hmm.
piping and all. We did that here in Bombay. But all these buttis and all are completely done by these women there, very, very beautifully. And what I love about is this, this, very running stitch in a very beautiful way, put
Haan,
together. So
waves.
these, yeah. So these were and also there's one more very massive, again, it's, this is really common, you see, but I love the way these,
Hmm.
yeah, but this is fully hand embroidered, but it's like woolen thread, used very beautifully, so these
Gorgeous.
we use in the film, yeah, we use them in the film, and I've kept them, these two, three things I kept them because you don't get this art anymore now. Everything's become machine, everything's become digital.
Hmm.
Now you walk into that whole lanes, you only see digital Fulkari embroidery, which is so disheartening to see that dying art,
Yes.
But yeah, we tried these things.
Okay. Now that you've showed me those things, I want to show you something as well that I have. So remember, she wears a taweez you have given her. That's
Yeah,
silver.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't
It's
know what you call it in Punjab, but we call it a dhol in Haryana. And I want to show you because I have two, one in silver and one in gold. And this is the one that I got from my Mosi. And this was my wedding gift from her.
how amazing.
And
Yeah.
instead of the threads, it has like these black beads.
Those black beads, the very Mangalsutra vibe. Yeah, yeah.
Vibes,
How
yeah,
cool.
exactly. Exactly. And I have a silver one which also like opens and you put those things like religious things and it closes.
So I had, I had kept this, but again, I wouldn't, so it was just an idea and inspiration, but if you see it is, it was like an old earring and,
I can't see it. A
sorry,
little too yeah, now I can see it.
things like that. It had a
Yeah.
very nice, strong depiction of but we also put on a thread, so it just went like a little choker around her neck, there was one of these things also what she wore in the film. So there's a little, I wouldn't call like a god in like a thing, but it's not visible exactly, but a very nice old world charm, and
Yes.
we had used this, and then also a very Punjab thing. This is, I'm sure you can relate to it very beautifully. This is like an authentic piece which I got from Patiala. It is,
Oh, is it Kanti?
yeah, it's a kanti, but also men wore it under the collar and all, it's
Ah,
very, so when you wear a kurta, it's always hanging outside the kurta. So this was one of those. It's actually real silver, gold plated, and I picked it from Patiala one jeweler. Very,
wow.
very pretty piece. And I like to, even if you've noticed, which you made a video also of that, where they wore the
Saggi
head thing.
Phul.
Yeah, Sergi Pool, which you made a video, and I think it was such a thing that people sent me those videos, tagging me and all, saying that how cool is that, and you had put that entire video. But And I noticed that some of my friends, like the Sardar and Punjabi friends who got married later, they also asked me to get that for them, like, sorted. So
How?
it caught up because also it's not that it's a fashion thing. It's such a vintage style for the brides to have it, like, to just hold the dupatta on the head very nicely. And these dupattas used to be like so massive. Like even if I hold this dupatta, this is like it's almost like more than 1 kg with the hand embroidery and everything. So just hold, and it's such a unique thought for them who made these things to, and it's such a real, I would say like a regional fashion and just speaks about what you're talking about.
Another thing I want to talk about from Kesari is her wedding look. It's really, the color palette is so nice, like teal and browns, and with all the gota work, it looks so nice. But why did you not go for the usual red?
Uh, I would, why not go with the usual red? I don't.
I think I know, but I want
I
to hear
think
from you.
I would say that, but I would, yeah, like, see, technically, like, yeah, it was a very traditional red color, what people generally like to wear, like gulabi ho gaya, lal ho gaya, yeah, deep. I was about to say in the very Punjabi maroon, but yeah, like maroon color. These are the four colors which are like, but then also what we thought, like, in a way, like, the turquoise teal, these colors are so like again showing like a very Sufi space. The color has a very Sufi vibe to it, like the turquoise color especially. So I think also the song was very like a very romantic Sufi. If you listen to it, it's a very night feeling. Like it gives a very like like a moon color would be like. So we also thought of going deeper tones, but I think what worked well was because the tone of the song was very Sufi in Sufi romantic. So I think the turquoise worked very well, and lal is something which is like very predictable, like as a color. So we were thinking like just go slightly like out of the box and make it look cool. What worked was that divider ghagra what we had made, which is such a Punjab thing, and it was very again when we made it, people kept asking what is the lehenga, what is the lehenga, but it was basically like how those farshi gararas were like back then with the choti kurti and like a almost like a transparent dupatta, like a mal cotton dupatta with embroidery, and then I think they all wore a shawl, which was fulkari. The fulkari
Hmm.
shawl, which used to come with a mother, like, because they used to travel like their entire village and also thand hai, so they've covered it that way. So, but
Hmm.
also became such a unique style to see her that way.
हाँ, एंड ऑल्सो फुलकारी वॉज ट्रेडिशनली जैसे आज हम मार्केट से खरीदते हैं, बट ट्रेडिशनली जो मदर्स और वुमेन होती थी फैमिली में वो एम्ब्रॉयडर करती थी ताकि उसको दे सकें शादी में, एंड दैट्स व्हाट शी यूज्ड टू वेयर.
Yeah. Apparently, they say that they used to start this when the daughter was born. They used to start
Yes,
making these embroideries then, and what used to happen with the passing time, the embroideries used to keep changing also because कुछ एक साल पहले शायद उन्होंने क्वार्टर दुपट्टा खत्म किया फिर 2 साल बाद उन्होंने कुछ और किया तो इफ यू सी फुलकारी इट्स वेरी डिसऑर्डेड इट्स नॉट वेरी
इवन.
like aligned and all it's not even yeah it's like yeah and then the motifs also kept changing with the age or like more women coming in and making it
यस. हाँ, यू कैन सी दैट डिफरेंस ना.
yeah
इट
yeah
रिमाइंड्स मी, जो मेरे गांव में ना कार्पेट्स बनते हैं, दरी जिसको बोलते हैं, और
हाँ
क्योंकि
जी
जॉइंट फैमिली होती है तो एक दिन मान लो दो चाची हैं वो दरी बुन रही हैं और बाकी घर का काम कर रही हैं, द नेक्स्ट डे दे यूज टू टेक टर्न्स. तो उसके रैबिट्स ना उसमें रैबिट्स के मोटिव्स हैं, वो थोड़े थोड़े अलग, वो थोड़े थोड़े अलग दिखते हैं, एंड यू कैन टेल. एंड आई वी एक्चुअली माय फैमिली मेड इट फॉर माय वेडिंग टू गिव इट एज अ गिफ्ट. तो वो हमने काल के पेरेंट्स को दिए थे, एंड दे हैव नॉट यूज्ड इट, दे हैव हंग इट ऑन अ वॉल.
yeah I think that's the best way to do
हाँ, दे फेल्ट लाइक रियली गुड, क्योंकि किसी ने उनके आर्ट को अप्रिशिएट किया इतना कि उसको टांग दिया पेंटिंग की तरह. एंड उनकी नानी थी जिन्होंने नोटिस किया था कि ये कितने लोगों ने बनाई है, क्योंकि रैबिट्स की शेप बहुत अलग अलग है. सो दैट इज व्हाट इट रिमाइंडेड मी ऑफ.
it's a source of entertainment on passing time like in the they used to sing songs and have their breakfast or chai साथ में बैठ के they I
हाँ,
think that was a passing time entertainment source for them to sit and do these things.
यस, स्पेशली गर्मियों में लंबे दिन होते हैं ना, और एग्रीकल्चर में इतना गर्मियों में नहीं होता है वो 2-3 महीने, तो उस टाइम ये सब चीजें ज्यादा बनाई जाती थी. यू हैव पंजाबी रूट्स. and that really shows in the period films that you have done, that are based in Punjab, like Kesari and Chamkila, both of them. मतलब उसमें अलग लेवल का ऐसा लगता है कि वो इमोशनल कनेक्ट दिखता है. Talk to us about your emotion, your connection with Punjab.
So, I haven't lived in Punjab. Like, might be in, I've gone for like some holidays and meeting my cousins and all, like, my buas. We used to keep going, like, and being, my dad being from army, so we've lived there for like 2 months, 3 months. And again, our base was always Bombay. So, my dad was born in Lahore and mom was born in Rawalpindi. So, I think post partition, like my dad was almost 4 or 5 years old, and mom was only 6 or 7 months old when the partition happened. So I grew up with among my grandmother, and they're sitting and talking about Rawalpindi. They used to talk about Rawalpindi as if it's like it's in Delhi. Like, अरे रावलपिंडी में तो हम ये ले आए थे, रावलपिंडी में ऐसे कर लिया था, पिंडियों रखा है, पिंडी में ये रखा है. Used to talk like as if it's such a so I used to always feel very connected for the fact that that it was for me it was never like okay it's a different country right now because I've always grown listening to Lahore and Rawalpindi as if like it's like अभी जाके लेके आ सकती है चीजें वैसे
यही तो
वैसे
है.
था उनके लिए हाँ भाई यही है ऐसे तो that made me like I and as a kid we never notice and we never think about all these things but when in 2008 I lost my my nanny so then and you grown ups and all then I started connecting to the fact that there were things which have like some history or some connection and of course it's my grandmother's and like so you will see the very Punjab vibe to it like it's a sari what she had made but it's very like see the flowers are not very beautifully like aligned because she might be sitting and doing it for like passing her time वो ring पे लगा के I love these little geometrical lines how she's put on the pallu like and then
Yes.
even like these on the end of the sari the border like there's like a full then also like a very
Wow.
again a
And it's
very
a full
beautiful
sari
piece
that is embroidered.
it's a full sari like even this see this is also done by her.
Wow.
So like these things, no, this is like I've kept them because I know I'll somehow like I don't know have always been connected to keeping these things like storing them very beautifully.
Mm.
So this is all like done by like her with her own hands. So it has a very emotional connect to it. Like
Connection.
there's one more if I can show you like if you I was talking about how this vibrant colors and all these to put together. This is the we back then there was not as fashion aesthetics, but that little vernacular fashion just makes it so cool now when you look at it, like because the colors the way you should use it and all, like see now this is like completely like to me I should call it like when I used to see this I go ये amoeba जैसा दिखता है, like how you used to have in science, but I but look at the beauty and the way I think this surely looks like she was sitting and doing time pass. So beautiful about to see like the colors are all put together like in a way like there's gold which has now become very like rust antique and like that those turquoise things these colors always like kept inspiring and like like even this one more piece which is
This is done by hand?
yeah this is all hand all hand.
What? And is it a sari or
I'm telling
dupatta?
you it's a sari.
Wow. That must have taken a year at least.
Yeah, but I have always seen, like, from the time I've seen my grandmother, I've seen her doing embroidery, then I saw my mother doing all these things. I think it was basically, I think that's where I think I'm in fashion or doing film costumes. Like, I've always grown seeing these things. So, like, तब मैंने इतना हमने इतना उसको तब ये नहीं दिया था तवज्जो के ये ऐसे बैठ के सब कर रहे इतने पेशेंस के साथ में यूज्ड टू थिंक के टाइम पास कीप कमिंग स्कूल गोइंग टू कॉलेज ईटिंग योर फूड और पीछे नानी बैठ पूछ किए जा रही है चश्मा लगा के कॉर्नर में बैठे हुए खिड़की के पास all those visuals now I think about I feel so like oh shit like they were doing things out of so much passion कि उनको टीवी नहीं देखना है उनको बोर हो रहा है तो अपनी चीजें किए जा रहे हैं my mom also she's been sitting and doing some embroidery they both are sitting and talking then my masis come and they all three of them sitting and doing some embroidery so these things used to keep happening.
आई हैव द एग्जैक्ट सेम एक्सपीरियंस जब मैं भी छोटी थी तो स्कूल से आते थे तो वो ऐसा DD1 DD2 ही आता था ना तो क्या ही कितना ही देख
वही
लोगे तो एंटरटेनमेंट का सोर्स यही होता था सोर्स भी क्या वो एक सोशल भी ऐसा होता था कि दे यूज्ड टू हैंग आउट टुगेदर चाय पीते पीते वो डिसाइड करते थे इस दरी में क्या कलर लगाने हैं इस एम्ब्रॉयडरी में कौन से कलर है ना ऐसा डिस्कस तो वो एज अ पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ ऐसा होता था सेम मुझे भी इतना इंटरेस्ट आई थिंक हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स में और ये पुरानी चीजों में इसीलिए है बिकॉज मतलब जैसे आपने बोला ना एग्जैक्टली वही एक्सपीरियंस था.
But yeah, and we हमेशा अब when they are not there, you feel that oh shit, like there's so much what was there around us as culture and history to be preserved. And then we used to, I went to Jalandhar, I opened all those trunks, I kept the best of the looking things, which I know she's done with a lot of thought and mehnat. I kept them all with me and I've still stored them nicely, like, like put them in malmal ka cloth and kept them all like nicely.
सेम आई जब मैं गांव जाती हूँ ना वो बड़े वाले संदूक देखे हैं मैं उसमें लटकी
हाँ
रहती
हाँ.
हूँ कि क्या मिलेगा.
What magic thing will come out of it? Yeah, yeah.
And वो सब I start hoarding it all and I have a collection of things. But these are our prized possessions. They're not just, random
Yes,
things.
they are not just random things. Yeah.
And so there's one more that I like to show you. This is of my nannies. It's called a tevta. This is a
Oh my
Rajasthani
God. Yes, yes, yes.
jewelry. है ना tevta. It's just
Wow.
like the style is like a block. ऐसा दिखता
Yeah, it's
है
so
ना.
beautiful. It is amazing.
इसका स्टोरी ये है कि हमारे यहाँ गांव में ना द लेडीज दे वेयर कुर्ता एंड लहंगा और ऊपर ओढ़नी
Hmm.
होती है और फेस कवर्ड होता है और ये सबकी ओढ़नी ना ऑलमोस्ट सिमिलर ही होती है 19-20 का फर्क होता है तो इन अ ग्रुप ऑफ वुमेन आप कैसे बताओगे कौन सी वाली तुम्हारी नानी है तो दिस वाज हाउ जिसने ये पहना है मुझे लगता था अच्छा ये मुझे पता लगता था ये मेरी नानी है तो इस ऑफ कोर्स इट हैड एन इमोशनल कनेक्शन तो आफ्टर शी पास्ड अवे आई एक्सचेंज्ड माय ज्वेलरी विद माय मामी and that's how I got this tevta.
How about it's a beautiful piece, yeah. Like it's so nice to be
Yeah,
that you have it.
yeah, that's the emotional connection you have. So it's not just a thing that I'm holding on to. My dadis and nannies, these are very special pieces, and I will never give them away for anything. Two most requested videos on my channel are Sita Ramam and Hi Nanna, and they're both your work, na. और सीता रमम का मैंने डिकोड किया कॉस्ट्यूम एंड इट क्रॉस 25 million views and that's when I found out how much it was loved and why they were requesting it so much because then I saw um, same with Hi Nana. So tell us about the costumes of Hi Nana, how about the transition of costumes from Varsha to Yashna.
Now, while meeting Saurav and discussing this character, there's such a nice arc for Varsha going to Yashna was basic, like like a nice city girl, like meeting this like a very cliche thing, like a rich girl meeting like a poor guy, like who's passionate about his photography and things like that, like in a hill station. She's holding on to like her childhood traumas and all, like so there was again like a very beautiful arc to make, like a girl who is slightly subdued, and then you see Yashna, who is like a modern day girl who just enters his life. So of course, we had to make two different characters for Varsha and Yashna. So there was a distinct style and fashion from these very subdued colors to like pastel tones to like floral prints, getting into like those nice Western jackets and tunics and dresses, So and then also, what became very famous of Yashna's was that black sari with a white
Sari.
blouse. What I think I was, I easily there was some 500, 600 tags on that look of her where influencers were wearing that black sari with that white blouse with the same hair, their nose thing.
No spin. Huh?
And then Bindi, especially, like, so I think somewhere with South, what I felt was like, that whole, where you put in a little thought process where people appreciate it so much.
Tell us how does it because there's so many of us who love Princess Noor Jahan's style. If someone wanted to dress like her, how do they get her style?
I just realized all the queens, and I think even you will connect to when you see Rajasthan, like, people are such, the queens especially look for easy fashion. Like, they look for something which is very sophisticated, whether it be just basic drape with the sari kept on the shoulder, with one thing like a pearl necklace, nothing much. But every piece would be a statement piece. The watch they wore would be a Cartier, or the pearl necklace would be wear for some Chanel, or the sari would have like a basic chiffon, very maybe made in Jodhpur or maybe made in Paris. But it was simplicity. So what I felt that also in I wouldn't regionalize the film, but when you see a lot of Telugu films, the fashion is slightly exuberant or more colorful. I think what worked on Sitaramam was where we went like very pastel, very like basic, and we showed the simplicity of the queen, like, and that's where it connected the most. So what we did, it was just a random thought that, why to make those simple blouses? How, when you talk about Queen, the first inspiration is Gayatri Devi. So we thought like, let's take Gayatri Devi as a sari inspiration. How about we take blouses, these little Edwardian or little like Victorian era, like how they used to wear these tops tucked into the skirt with their jackets with buttoned under bust and all. How those things look now very beautiful. I think let's take that and merge it with chiffon, beautiful saris, and how let's see how it turns out. And I think Mrunal just carried it like beautifully. And each
Yes.
and every sari, those little Peter Pan collars with like little,
हाँ.
uh, like those, that mega sleeves with little scallop embroidery and all those things, I think. And even those pin tucked embroidery with little buttons in the front and all. I think it all, and even I think what people were loving, those balloon sleeve blouses worn on the sari. Like,
Yeah.
see when she's running in the temple, with all the kids, she's wearing a balloon sleeve which has a little ruffled things on the thing.
Hmm.
So many, I had got like requests that where is this blouse from, which brand, can I get it? Like, I think that was one film which I could say that I have the maximum following or the maximum inspiration for fashion and questions till
Yes.
date, till date.
Yeah, even now, like they keep, asking my audience, he keeps asking for like a follow-up video saying, how do we dress up like her? And I feel like just like you said, focus more on the details, but keep the rest of it simple, just a simple chiffon sari, like you just said.
Yeah, it's so like this, like, even like a little basic embroidery on the end, which is the best form to use like scallop, which is like the most used thing right now. And then also even that pink sari where she's walking in a little slow motion, like with the Peter Pan collar, it became like just showing one of the saris I have, which you never use as a color. But I picked this sari from Jodhpur. Uh, it is. Uh, you see, it's like a chiffon with like a nice floral butta. It's fully
Yeah.
hand painted.
Oh,
It's fully hand painted. It has that little paint सूख जाता है तो उसका कैसे वो effect होता है वो है पूरा like see it's all like so I got these three four colors. There was a peach, there was a white, and this stood out too much, so we used the white color. She's worn in the film also. While she's running on the snow, like to see him with her open
अच्छा हाँ
hair and
that
all.
white हाँ
That
I
white
remember.
sari. This is इसी का ही version हो. This is
Oh, okay.
turquoise and that was pearl white color.
So yeah, let's talk about Gangubai. So firstly, how did you make a character like Gangubai so stylish?
So the very first meeting, like you have this very intense nervousness. You're going to meet the Sanjela Bhansali, like, and he just narrates me one very beautiful. He switches on some music, some very old ghazal, and then he just says two things. I want to make like a character who looks like a flower, a very beautiful flower placed in between the flowers which are drying. So, like, how, like there are still like pastel dryness of roses, and then you have placed another white rose in the center, how that entire thing will look. And then also at the same time, I'm looking at a brothel, but I don't make it look like a brutal brothel, what people show brothels as. Like, I want to show the beauty of course, his films always connect to the womanhood and the most beautiful part of making women look larger than life as characters, like, all his films. And I think that is where, like, again, to that massiveness to show a brothel, but not look like a brothel. We as conventionally, I would think like, like, oh, let's put some red and blue and green and let's make it like vibrant because brothel is all about a filmy way of like, understanding brothel. But now with slow process, like, understanding, sitting with him, he made me understand scenes through poems and ghazals, like how he's imagining this character. And if you see Gangu was not she's not a lady who wants to prove that I live in man's world. She's very feminine. She's very like fashionable. Now, why I would say fashionable? Because if you see to her backstory, she was a girl who wants to become an heroine. She wants to, she left her village getting fooled. It's a true story. She left her village with a unknown who fooled her and got to the city and sold her in the brothel, like, so technically, she was so mad to be an actress that she could do that kind of a thing. So imagine now when she is reached in a brothel world with all the passing phase and trauma what she went through. Now when she's become a madam, why would she still look traumatized or why would she look into people who are around her? So I always think she will look into like actors of that time. She would look at Meena Kumari's. She would look at Madhubala's. So that was the whole thing, like, that why she's so fine, why she's wearing sunglasses, why she's carrying a purse on her elbow, why she walks with an umbrella in the hand. There was a whole connection to think that a lady who's aspiring actress ended up in a brothel. Now she's a madam. She wants to show that, I live
Hmm.
in fashion and luxury. I roam in a Bentley. I have like, so everything of a larger than life actress she's doing as a brothel madam. So there was a quirk
Hmm.
again, if you go to see. It's like, like a person who's not lived what she wanted to, but now she's doing it through the power what she's gained.
Yes.
So for me, Gangu was always a quirky character. It was never a character who's like basic, simple. Everything what she's doing in the film is larger than life. To the speech also what she goes and gives in between all the people where she removes the glasses, she hangs it like, in her sari, and I think all those things like, are such points to show that little element of like, like a powerful lady, but doesn't want to prove that she's in a man's world. She wants to prove it through the femininity. Like, it was never like, that, oh, like, I am like, that, uh, yeah, like she's not that. She's not a bhai. She's not trying to be a bhai, or she's doing
Hmm.
all her traits with femininity. So, there's that one beautiful scene where I think she has looked the most powerful and stunning character is like, when she's lying, where she's put her feet in that water and these ministers enter, where her hair is open, her
Hmm.
bindi slightly like, like smudged, and she, like, lips, and she just lies on the bed like that. That scene is such a image of a powerful, rooted, yet like, lady with strength and every aspect when you talk about femininity. It's such a, like, her Payal, the way she adjusts her hair to go and sit on the bolster, like, like leaning on the bolster, the way her posture, and all these ministers coming and sitting with hands like that in front of her is such a powerful scene, I think, in the film.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, now that she has all these resources, then she's living the dream of, dressing up like those actresses that she wanted to become like. White the variety in which you've shown that white sari is so beautiful. Tell us tell us about those white saris.
The film is based in 60s, like late 50s, early 60s. So there was no power loom, and there were no like these fancy saris I wanted to put on her, because also she's like a madam who's now becoming a politician. And that whole strata to show that, that she walks in. There are all these dialogues, Gangu Chand hai. So I didn't want to do that whole, कि वो chiffon की साड़ी पहन के चल रही है or some. I want to keep that बहुत this classy textile. So I never wanted to show this lady like, who is wearing these dainty like chiffon saris, and, she's not pretending to be queen and all. Like, she is with that motto that I've come here, I want to rule this society and I want to make good out of it. And so we went into all the old textiles, whether I was looking into like Maheshwari saris, whether I was looking into like even like Banarasis of whites. I think in other scenes where she kicks that goon and all, it's a Banarasi what she's wearing. Where that flare.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was, so we looked into these satin Banarsi sarees, not silk, very soft silk Banarsi sarees, are actual vintage piece which I picked from Jodhpur. I keep going to a lot to Jodhpur and Jaipur to, there are these places where you get these very old textile, like still very well preserved and all, like, sometimes get these nice silver, golden border. So, like, from this Jodhpur place, I found this very beautiful Banarsi, which was as soft as, like, I could say, like, Georgette. But it's like silk hand woven sari we made her wear. She's standing outside the car where she's come to take the guy, like, come, I'll take you
Hmm.
for a drive. And that whole, where she's wearing glasses and all. So that entire space, that sari is Banarsi, which people would not realize because it's so soft and flimsy and flowy. There's an entire, and we only had one piece. So we didn't have duplicates of the sari because they also get in a little like, in the car, they're like kind of little aggressive
Hmm.
with each other and all, like, and uh, so we never had duplicates of the sari, so we had to use it very delicately. Even now, it takes back me also to the chashma. We only had one piece of the specs, and they are actual vintage piece from the 1950s. I picked it from Paris in back in 2010, 2011. I picked it from Paris in some flea market, and here it became so iconic on Gangu. And only one piece, all our sequences where she's hanging, and my team used to be like, कहीं गिर नहीं जाए, कहीं
टूटना
टूट नहीं
मत.
जाए, उसकी वही आपने कैसे लटकाया, aggression में मत उठो, and Alia, like, the way she even she took like special care of everything because she knew there is there's a value to like that is vintage in real pieces. Even that
Hmm.
purse what she's carrying in her hand is an actual piece from 1950s. I picked from Berlin flea market while I was shooting for Dawn 2. I had walked into this Berlin flea market. I saw this very beautiful purse hanging there. It mentioned it belonged to some Jew lady. There was a little card mentioned inside that it belonged to East Berlin of a Jewish lady and all. There was written from the and it is from the 1946 or whatever, like some and it was hanging and I picked it. It was expensive, but I like to collect these things which have some kind of history or like some so. And imagine now it's become immortal. It's in the film. Those
Yes.
glasses and the specs. So what made me so happy about this look was that these are pieces which belong to that time. They got
Hmm.
immortalized in the film now, so it will always be there. And that film did well, and people appreciated that look of sari, chashma, and purse, and
Yeah.
their umbrella.
Yeah, and it's so cool how, it belonged to an actual person and now it's so
Yeah,
iconic on screen.
yeah,
Just the
yeah.
connection. And everyone talks about Alia's white saris, but I also loved Shikayat Gaane mein what Huma wears. And the little rumal tucked in her blouse was also very gorgeous.
So, I you what is that? Before that Pakistani singer, Aaj Jaane Ki Zid Na Karo. Who's that? You Google, you see Farida Khanum. You saw her fashion, her style. If you see Farida Khanum's style, on your Google, you see the pictures of her. So she used to wear a lot of these nice, expensive chiffon Jordan sarees, hand embroidery with sequins and zardozi and everything like that. And of course, when I showed you, my nanny's things, like
Hmm.
using sequins and this, that little embroidery and all, going. So there's an old world charm, to show that, and also the rumal is such a thing, back then, I remember my nanny, she used to keep her handkerchief tucked in.
Hmm.
I think a lot of North Indian women used to took the dupatta also and then tuck it in, so that whole idea came from there. And the rumal also was fully scalloped, hand embroidered piece.
Hmm.
Again, like keeping that little like 50s, 60s in mind, and then used to put those initials of their name and all in the end, if it
Yes.
whom it belongs to, all these things. So I think that detail never got you couldn't see it. Like we put like initial of her name, and she stubbed it here, and she puts Itra on the thing, and she puts it here,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the idea, show that old world feel which nobody does anymore right now. Even with Gangu, we did the same thing. You see, she puts the pallu on the head and she tucks it here, so it doesn't keep falling.
Hmm.
So these are all these little old traits if you might have seen back then people those grandmothers when they were slightly they going for their temples and bhajans so the temple kirtan mein ja rahe
Hmm.
to sar ke इसमें खोच दिया पल्लू को. So these are those ideas which stayed in the head which
Memories.
we used in the film. Yeah.
या एंड रुमाल तो आई फील लाइक हाँ वो भी मैंने देखा था कि रुमाल अपने आप में कितना सुंदर है मतलब वो ऐड कर रहा है
वही.
आउटफिट में एंड यू ऑल्सो लाइक इट रिमाइंडेड मी ऑफ हाउ यू यूज रुमाल इन केसरी एज वेल दोज रुमाल्स आर सो ब्यूटीफुल ऑल्सो या
Yeah, there was that whole Fulkari embroidery which we apparently shown that Parineeti के back से गिर जाता है and he has it.
I watched Gulmohar recently, and Sharmila Tagore looks so elegant in those nicely pleated saris and a pearl necklace and a tiny drop earrings. It's so gorgeous. So what I wanted to ask was, अगर मुझे ऐसी साड़ी खरीदनी हो, तो tips tips तो मैं क्या what should I look for?
Yeah, I would say that what I like to do is I'm not a person who will shop a lot from Bombay. I'll make it a point that I travel. I think all these even when you look at to Sharmila Tagore sari or something that what she's wearing the fur is she's wearing a what we gave her a knitted a top like a black full sleeve top with like a it's a very Delhi thing people wear like those knitted blouses a black one or a red one, and then you wear any sari with it. It's
Hmm.
a very like a classy thing to do, So, and that sari again was a very old school Banarasi, very very old school Banarasi, hand woven completely, and it was like a dusty peach in color, So again, so I feel that instead of going to these big stores, which are like very highly publicized and all, I rather enter those you know I love Jodhpur because you enter these, these Kishan Kumar and Sons. ऐसे stores होते हैं ऐसी stores में when you enter, no, I think what people, when as travelers, we look for big shops to enter. Like when we go to see shops, saris or outfits or clothes. I like to go the opposite way to go into these tiny lanes to get go into like those वो मिट्टी की खुशबू वाली जगह पे जाओ and pick things from there, like there because that's a place where they retain the old world charm. Yeah, they keep their saris like nicely tucked in मलमल का कपड़ा and they remove it so nicely. जो हमारे बहुत ही beautiful piece है ये हमारे शॉप में 10 साल से पड़ा हुआ है कोई खरीदता नहीं है आई पिक दोस पीसेस आई when you talking about that I just recently like I got this beautiful like see it's still kept like that only I picked this very beautiful gaji silk sari this is like while picking for Gulmohar like I picked this very beautiful sari it never got used in the film but it's like a gaji
Wow.
silk but it looked too young on her, like, it didn't give that, like, like and it's too shiny and also, like, so I just, if you see this completely hand,
Gorgeous.
what I love about this saree is like this, it is that gaji silk, which is like again, like very hand woven and like, so it falls like really beautifully, like, doesn't, it's very comfort, like, it's very comfortable as a fabric. It is not like when you wear silks, they are like so stiff. So
Hmm.
this has a very like flimsy feel to it. Like, there was one more very beautiful piece like that only, like, which is again like which is a slightly silk thing.
What are these motifs?
It's
Oh
a
wow,
parrot.
it's a parrot. The motifs are also so beautiful. The previous one had these cypress tree motifs. This one
Yeah,
has
yeah,
these
yeah.
lovely
It's,
parrots.
yeah. So like these are the kind of forms, which and it's actually like an old sari, like, which I was talking about. I like to enter these stores where they say like 10 साल पहले weave की थी, 5 साल पहले weave की थी. So like this was during Gulmohar, like, and luckily I was in Varanasi. Right after the narration of the film, I was going for another film we were shooting in Varanasi, so I entered all these cute little old stores, the wooden racks and all, like they have
Ah.
showcase to open and shut, those kind of stores. I picked these and that those at least some 6 to 7 sarees what she wore were from those stores.
What is that one costume or a detail in costume that you think people missed and it deserved more attention?
Hey, luckily, like there are films which have like, got well noticed, and also thank you to you that you put in so nicely few things ahead, like which were not noticed, but you got them into like notice, like especially how you talk about a Sagi pool, which back then, like when you put that video out, people started talking about it all. Oh, that was so beautiful, how we missed it and all, like that. But yeah, there are like for me, Bobby's character was like the most beautiful character which I had ever like made. We still miss like working on that film and the way we had put things together. Like me, my team, I still meet the director. They still like we all are like but yeah, it never got that well noticed. But people who've seen that film they appreciate it a lot. That way. So there are some films which you feel like that it could have been like even Dhakad as a film, like, which was of course, I would, no, I'm not on the story or the way it was shot and all is all brilliant, but the way the character was stylized and all was something which I think people didn't watch that film or it was missed or something like, but yeah.
आपके काम के अलावा जितने भी और अगर कॉस्ट्यूम्स की बात करें मूवीज में तो ऐसा कौन सा एक ऐसी कौन सी मूवी है जो आपको लगता है उसमें कॉस्ट्यूम्स पर अहेड ऑफ इट्स टाइम
There are quite a few films, back in the days which were made, like, I'm a fan of Mani Ratnam films. I think all his films back in the 90s when he made like film like Bombay or Dil Se, I think they're all as characters and as fashion, they are way ahead of its time. Like, I think even Farhan Akhtar films which are made in Dil Chahta Hai or the Laksh, all these films, which you see them, you still can sit and see them, like, and you feel so fresh and beautiful about that film. Like one of these again, like very beautiful films back in the 80s, I don't know the name of the director, I'm forgetting, but all these films like Masoom and all, like, when they were made, they are so fashionable. If you watch how a Shabana Azmi or how a Nasiruddin Shah was dressed in the film and showing the 80s and the class of Delhi, how they showed, I think it's brilliant, and I think I can watch that film now and it still feel that it's been shot now.
हम्म
Everything is so fresh in the film, like when they're showing the hill station, the way they're showing the relations with the characters, everything's so modern. Like even the film like Earth, where there's Om Puri and Smita Patil, like and Shabana Azmi again. see those sarees, they're very halter neck blouses and like, this, those satin silk sarees, silsila, the way Rekha, Amitabh Bachchan all are dressed. I think hats off to those people because I feel we are privileged as costume designers or stylists. We have Pinterest, we have Google. I can go travel anywhere, or even not traveling, I can order stuff and reach me, or I can have like tons and tons of tailors who are so, brilliantly they understand cuts and sleeves and all those things. Like, but back then those designers when they sourced or they made things and they still look so relevant and fashionable. Like, there were quite a few films, like, one of my very favorite films is like, all those Madhubala films which were made back then. Like, when I look at those films, I feel they're so fashionable. And then we didn't have this option कि हम लंदन जाके चीजें खरीद के ला रहे हैं या हम कोई Amazon या कहीं से कुछ ऑर्डर कर रहे हैं या हमने गूगल पे टाइप करके कुछ निकाला या हम Pinterest पे कुछ देख रहे कुछ नहीं था ये. But look at the details and the ideas and the way they progress the characters through costumes also. There are so many films. Sari Bibi or Gulam is one of the greatest examples to show beautiful drapes of a sari and a lady who is intoxicated. It's so brilliant the way Meena Kumari pulls out character with her hair open and like so aware of its time. This film was made in 50s, but it's so now to kind of connect to it and like, so I can go on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I know what you mean. And my favorite costume that I found out, the movie never got released, but Nargis is wearing this gown, which is kind of inspired
The
by a fish.
mermaid,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it has
mermaid
like
shaped
fin,
gown.
like, and there's little like fish scales going on. It's so gorgeous. And you cannot like, it's from the 50s.
These people read through the books, they made sketches with their hand, they explained things, and back then the films weren't like budgets what we get now. They had like, so everything was DIY or made or like something taken from the actor and put it nicely and things like that. Like, so I think there's so much of effort and which is sees now. So we still follow that, like how Sadhna would dress up in those uh, fitted kurtis with churidars and those chiffon dupattas. I did that little bit of on Mrunal in Sita Ramam, like, we did that little sadhana style on her because it's so epitome of 60s. You cannot go wrong in showing Indian fashion, showing 60s with those fitted kurtis and churidars. I remember I have pictures of my mother wearing those clothes. She used to live in Jalandhar and I'm like, so fashionable. She's wearing sleeveless kurtis that fitted to her body and
Yeah.
like churidar like with stilettos and like that hair which is like done like that with her hair,
Liner, the
I don't have
wind.
those pictures handy right now. Yeah, I don't have those pictures but those are something which is stayed in your memory and you try to put them in every film where you get an opportunity to do these things.
You've used teal quite a bit. Sita Ramam के जो वो हाफ साड़ी है, which was the most loved outfit. उसके तो sketches वगैरह बने हैं. परिणीति का wedding outfit, the Empire series में बहुत सारा teal दिखा है. Is there a special inclination towards teal? And I'm asking this because it's one of my favorite colors also.
There are two of the very favorite colors which you see in maximum white. That you call it signature style or whatever, like, like my team teases me like that, like, oh, sir, abhi aap वापस से teal लेके आ रहे हो यहाँ पे. So for me, teal is something I associate in a way like it's such a powerful color in two ways. It shows beautiful elegance and at the same time very raw and rustic color. It is not associated to like, beauty completely. It's associated to something which is like, something which is very antique. I feel like when you see antique things, no, there's always a tint of blueness or a tealness to it. Whether you see an old wall, whether you see a brass item, whether you see. So for me, teal I associate to antiqueness of in colors. The same, my other very favorite color is burgundy, which is like again a color of strength, love, danger, violence, whatever you can put it. For me, red is not a very passionate color. For me, burgundy is a passionate color, like, which looks so brilliant. Like, why again I associate, like, you go back to the 50s, 40s, 60s, burgundy was such a strong color to be used, whether it was on makeup, whether it was the best outfits to be worn on the red carpet by the actors. It is the burgundy. I think these two colors are like, you see in maximum of the films I make my characters wear, like, and they become, I feel glad that they're noticed in everywhere I've used, the teal.
आजकल हम बहुत बेटर ड्रेसिंग देख रहे हैं. लाइक आलिया ने पूरे प्रमोशंस में गंगूबाई के वाइट साड़ीज पहनी थी, श्रद्धा ने रेड आउटफिट्स पहने थे स्त्री टू के प्रमोशंस में. एंड जैसे उसका बोलते हैं ना कि उसकी चोटी में उसकी शक्ति है, तो वो उसकी चोटी को भी बहुत ब्रिलियंटली यूज किया है उसके प्रमोशनल आउटफिट्स में.
Yeah.
What is your take on method dressing? Before you answer, I want to tell those who do not know, method dressing is when the actor dresses as their character. So during the promotional events as well. So yeah, I want to know what is your take on method dressing.
See, for me, method dressing like is a very cool thing to be done because you're promoting your film as a character rather like like what has happened in so many film promotions. I see like an actress playing a very a vintage film where they're playing a very vernacular character from a village, but they are doing promotions in Bombay, Bangalore, where they're wearing corsets and dresses and jeans and so I think when you go as a character, like I love what what Alia did. It was her, I think, called to do like Vaisari. She wore my glasses throughout in every promotion. She got them called and she was wearing them, like, because I think when you walk in, she was doing all those things everywhere. She was not doing hello, hi, and all. I think it just promotes the film from the point of view what you're going to talk show in the film. Same with Shraddha. I think that whole choti, where, as you mentioned, it's the part of the film. Her red outfit was shown like this three ka color. She used it brilliantly, I think, and going to small cities, where people watch the film from the trailer and then you see the same character walking there. So I think it adds more curiosity. I think it's the best way to promote a film, I feel personally.
I only want to talk about two songs in Stree 2. One is Tamanna's Aaj Ki Raat, jo to blew up on internet. And another one is Aayi Nahi, है ना, where the Shraddha. दोनों के कॉस्ट्यूम्स उनको आई फील हुक स्टेप्स को और एनहांस करते हैं. तमन्ना does this hook step while sitting and you've given her these slits in a green outfit and falls very nicely and adds to the, enhances the hook step. Same with Shraddha's, outfit in Aayi Nahi. You've
Bhojpuri.
given it a tucked in effect. It's not tucked in, but you've given it a tucked in effect. And there's a certain
Yeah,
kind of layering that makes it like more flary. है ना, और डिटेल्स भी
yeah,
बहुत
yeah.
सुंदर लगती है. सो माई क्वेश्चन इज, वाज दैट इंटेंशनल और क्या हुक स्टेप पता था पहले से?
I like to personally go and see what they are doing, like, and I also then make my terms with the choreographer to kind of like, कि ऐसा किया तो ऐसा अच्छा लगेगा, ये color किया तो ऐसा अच्छा लगेगा. So it's like we have these joint meetings where there's choreographer, the DOP, the art director. We all sit, then even actor, like, with the fact that, okay, what will make them comfortable without making anything look sleazy or cheap. Like, it's for me, the most important thing is that how nothing should look cheesy on this camera. Everything has to look like aesthetic. So with Tamannaah now, like again, like that film she's called Shama and she's a dancer. Like so we were like, how to make cliche, but in a very beautiful way. That it's cliche. She has a belly dancing outfit. What you will connect to her name Shama and who's a dancer, like and the way her setup, what we showed, like how she's talking in partial Urdu with that pasta on the head and also
Yeah.
there are cliches in that entire character, but then again, cliche made it look sophisticated and cool. So, like, it looks brilliant on Tamannaah. The color has to stand out beautifully on Tamannaah. Then also what we did, I don't know whether you might have noticed because you notice things very detailed. So, if you see her, the bralette, what we had made, we
Steer.
made paisley. There was a paisley
A
on it, like,
Taz. Oh, okay.
yeah. So there was so we took that shape because it's Chanderi, like it's a lot of you see a lot of Chanderi saris no have paisley ka motif on it and all, like
Oh, नहीं, I missed this one, यार.
so we were just thinking कि मतलब वो एक वो ब्रालेट पहना देते हैं तो वो तो बहुत बार देखा है क्लीशे नहीं क्योंकि what director also wanted that I want these characters to look that people should connect to it. I don't want it to go into like a high fashion or something which is avant-garde looking like that वो थोड़ी 1940s cabaret से inspired ऐसा कुछ नहीं लगना चाहिए. Is like Shama है, she's a dancer. What comes in her head first? It should be that. So we had like, okay, like let's do like something which will suit her body and make her feel great when she wears it and all. Then color should stand out brilliantly. And then again with Aayi Nahi, that song was when we heard that song, it's from the Bhojpuri sensation, the singer. So I wanted to keep that khet to again very clichély think like a girl going in a khet in a ghagra but how to just make that घाघरा not look like a basic. उससे अगर suppose आप अभी खेतों में चलते हो, in village people take that घाघरा and tuck it in.
किट हाँ.
तो ऐसे उसने वो टक इन किया है, वरना टक इन करेंगे तो फिर पता है वो जबरदस्ती की लेग्स दिखाई देती है. सो लाइक टू अवॉइड दैट, कि उसके अगर उसने घाघरा टक इन किया बट वो घाघरा के अंदर का जो पेटीकोट या लाइनिंग होगी वो, व्हाट इफ वी शो दैट इन अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग वे, बट नॉट नॉट मेक इट प्लेन. वी यूज some nice brocade chanderi, like a fabric which is peeping out in a different color, because you know how in we are not in smaller town people are not color coordinated, like you know, the sari is red, the petticoat is orange.
Yeah.
So that was also like a like a thought behind कि वो ऐसा mismatch भी लगे कि वो interestingly दिख रहा है. ये सब thought process होते हैं. No, now because you watch things with details, so you understand that. But like you know, for a lot of audiences, it's like, oh, but she's looking so cool, and that ghagra is moving so beautifully with every dance step and all. Like you know, it is that.
हाँ, but I'm glad we're discussing why. Why? अच्छा, वो किसका आइडिया था, वो जो हैट्स पहने और वो स्क्रीन के आगे बस वो वॉबल करते हैं. आई नहीं में वो है ना, हैट्स ऐसे पहने हैं बैकग्राउंड
हाँ,
डांसर्स.
जो लोग वो we have to make the song quirky with all the things which are like, you know, which is seen but in a very quirky way. So even with Rajkumars and everything, these outfits, if you watch, you know, they're wearing basic dhotis with sherwanis which look like जादूगर के कपड़े कैसे होते हैं ना, open
हाँ हाँ.
sherwanis पहनी है. तो we were thinking जो imagine कर सके इंसान, which is very cool, but at the same time, you know, there is quirk. So all these dances on hat or quirks, you know, to just show like a time lapse in an interesting way.
हाँ, it was really funny, but also very unique. It's like ये किसका कहाँ से आइडिया आया कि ऐसा हैट पहन के they'll just wobble their head as a screen, which looks interesting, very different. So you bring out pure nostalgia with some of your costumes, like in Chamkila. Na, you had this, you'd given her this pink suit. And I sent you a picture also कि मेरी मम्मी के पास सेम सूट था. Then I made a video about it. Everybody लाइन से सब कह रहे थे मेरी मम्मी के पास भी था, मेरी मम्मी के, सब अलग अलग कलर्स में बता रहे थे किस कलर में था. सबकी मम्मियों के पास वो सूट था. इतना डीपली पर्सनल और ऑथेंटिक मतलब उसमें काम था. तो द क्वेश्चन इज, क्या कभी किसी ने ऐसा कोई कॉस्ट्यूम देखा है स्क्रीन पे और इतना पर्सनली ऐसे अटैच्ड फील किया है, मतलब आपके फैमिली फ्रेंड्स में से कि अरे ये मेरे पास भी था, या कोई फनी और अनएक्सपेक्टेड रिएक्शन किसी का रहा है?
See, in my family, no, they all, nobody takes my work as very personal. All my cousins and all over there, no, they don't take my work at all in a way to like how you are taking the details. उनको हाँ ये अच्छा था, मतलब ऐसे nobody has that sensibility, you know, that who gets it. But yeah, like you know, through Instagram, I get a lot of these people who have mentioned that, oh, like you know, when those Gangu white sarees, you know, वो जो ऐसे टकिन किया हुआ था ना, तो मुझे कितने दो तीन ऐसे पुराने गुजराती मारवाड़ी जो लोग होते थे ना, उन्हें लिखा कि अरे आई रिमेंबर माय ग्रैंडमदर गोइंग फॉर सत्संग व्हेन शी यूज्ड टू पुट द दुपट्टा ऑन द हेड एंड taco it here. So these like quite a few, like Sita Ramam, like you know, when that whole chiffon sarees, you know, so you belong, you're half Rajasthani, so you'll understand, like, you know, how integral chiffon and georgettes are in Rajasthan, like you know. So there were a lot of people who were asking, "Arey, you're showing Noor Jahan, but you're showing Georgette and chiffon." So I was luckily we had those reference images of show, like you know, this queens dressed up similar.
हाँ.
Whether you were talking about Southern Queen or you talking about Northern Queens or East
Yeah.
and Western, whether you go to the Queen of Bengal or whatever, they all wore chiffons and Georgettes,
हाँ.
and then associated to the royalties. Rajasthan is known for its royalties, so they had more reference images out there in like you know, in the public domain to watch and understand. So a lot of people say, "Arey, my grandmother used to wear this sari in the 50s. My grandmother used to have the same scallop sari my Taiji has worn in." So they were, I just feel that I personally like to go through albums. When I have not spoken a lot about this, but what I do is I will look at my family albums. I look into my cousins to show their side of family albums, you know, कि उनकी नानियों के साइड का, उनकी दादियों के साइड की एल्बम्स दिखा दो. Show me the pictures from the old world, like you know, whether we are even with my friends who are not connected to me, like my Gujarati friends or my Marwadi friends, or even the Southern, like when I'm working in Telugu films, doing period films, I tell them to show their wedding images of their parents or their grandparents. You know, it helps you to just show the regional aspect of connections. It's so simple that I can go to a fabric store and pick a fabric and make a suit or or a salwar kameez. But what makes it like when personalized is when I have a photo image in my head and I have to replicate to the core of it, that I get the try to get the right fabric, right color, the दुपट्टा कैसे उन्होंने ओढ़ा हुआ है, वो डिटेल भी अगर मुझे मिल जाए वो मुझे फोटोज पे मिलेगी, because people are so non-pretentious. If you see the albums of 70s
Yeah.
and 80s, nobody is doing clicking pictures like how we do it now. Like
Hmm.
we have pictures of everything, of whether we're eating something or whether we're dancing with it. But back then, people were pretentious. So, एक photo अगर खींच गई in a casual way, that's what I love. Like कि
Hmm.
किसके खाते हुए picture दिख रही है या किसकी
Hmm.
कुछ बात की उसमें picture दिख रही है. So you see the wing of the how it's been put or how the necklace is little unkept and not very like how the dupatta is slightly fallen. So I think these details to मेक कैरेक्टर्स कि अभी आप ऐसे मूव कर रहे हो, डोंट पिन इट एंड ऑल. लॉट ऑफ फिल्म्स यू शो कि लोग ऐसे तो ऐसे ही है पूरे टाइम. नहीं,
Hmm.
वो दुपट्टा सर से गिरता है, आप
Hmm.
जब बात करो यू हैव टू लिफ्ट इट एंड पुट इट बैक. in in the real world people did that, but in so many films we watch it look so like कि वो टाई है तो वो टाई ऐसी ही लगी होती है, वो
Overdone.
दुपट्टा ऐसा ही रहता है, वो हिलता ही नहीं
Hmm.
है, वो इतना पिन कर देते हैं उसको. तो I try to avoid these details. I think that's where I think a lot of people connect to, like they get that personal feeling. Like, then I also go and talk to character actors sometimes, so, okay, ma'am, can you like, lift the, keep doing this, let it fall, and then you do it in your way, what makes you comfortable and all, like, and then people will like, ha, yeah, let's do that, let's do that. So these
Hmm.
things I think you always only get from the old world charm when you watch your photographs.
Yeah, and I could tell, because like your process is watching the photographs first and then making costumes, and that is why when we see those costumes, we like, "अरे ये photograph में था." So that's the entire process. Another thing that I really like about your work is how you use regional fashion, a lot of regional embroideries and stuff from India, whether it's Jamdani saris in Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, or the chadra in Animal, which is one of my favorite things you have used from regional fashion. एक तो दिलजीत ने पहना था कोचेला में, and एक रणबीर ने एनिमल में, and I felt like this is so cool how chadra is become fashionable again, for a generation that is moving on to Western clothes like pants and stuff, which is fine. But now the way that chadra is becoming cool again is very heartwarming in a way कि अरे ये अच्छा है कि ये it's not being lost like other things. So what I wanted to ask you is, अगर कोई ऐसा रीजनल एलिमेंट है या कोई चीज है जो आप चाहते हो कि मेन स्ट्रीम फैशन में वापस आनी चाहिए, व्हाट इज दैट वन थिंग, ओनली वन?
There, there are quite a few things, yeah, because
ओके,
you
थ्री.
started correct. I love these regional things which existed at one point into like and that everybody used to do that, but now जैसे हाँ तो मतलब I would I really love the women when you go in Madhya Pradesh, women wear that front pallu wala saris, no? I think they are such brilliant way of draping, and I think if you go culturally, if you go to reference of India, no, in any form, whether it was Punjab, whether it was Lahore, or even the central India or Gujarat West, maximum people use that front palla as a sari. It was never this. So I think that is something which just makes women look so beautiful. I think, it's so easy. You're not, your hands free technically. You're not, ये वाला अच्छे से एक बैठ गया आपका. And I think something, what I also love in regional fashion, that women in India used to wear saris is slightly high on the ankle and all, like, it was never like floor, touching on the floor and like, then I find it so uncomfortable that people are walking into weddings, they're holding the pleats in the front and they're walking.
हाँ.
Versus two, I think the beauty of that ankle length sari is A, you're showing your beautiful juttis or your chappals of you wear when you dress up, and you show anklets. Those beautiful anklets which you can show, which will never happen when you're wearing like saris like that. Like, I think
हाँ.
that central India fashion, which I think even I've seen in old photos of Lahore where women wore aage palla wala saris with the with the palla on the head and the
On the
front
head.
pallu. I think that's something we have just made like a Gujarat ke log aise pehante hain. But you go to central India, Madhya Pradesh, everybody wears that. You go to Rajasthan, people wear it. You even go to vintage photos of Lahore, people are wearing it. So I think it's something which the younger generation should, push it, because everybody is so comfortable कि एक पल्लू पे डाला हो गए हम तैयार हैं. I think that's something we need to get back into fashion, that front pallu saris.
If in fact,
Yeah.
हैदराबाद का खड़ा दुपट्टा is also very interesting the way
Yeah,
it's draped. Like
exactly.
आजकल ऐसा है कि साड़ी पहनी और ऐसा like you said, मतलब by default ऐसा set हो गया है दिमाग में. But there's so many
Yeah.
drapes we have which we could totally experiment with.
And even in men's fashion, there is so much like, now I feel that excited seeing that, a lot of this vintage fashion is coming out, like, like Shantanu and if
शानू
I'm not wrong,
निखिल,
Shantanu Ketan,
हाँ शानू and
they
निखिल,
are
yeah.
brilliantly getting those Jodhpuris and they're getting those Achkans and, those, which they call as Anarkali. But those for men, like, because while in my latest film I was working like on Chhawa and all, I was looking into these men used to wear these flared angrakhas and anarkalis because it was easy for them to run or sit on a horse and all those things, like, So there are a lot of uh, things also why they had those slits on the side of the kurtas. So when you start referencing, you start realizing, okay, हर एक चीज का एक connection है that fashion was made for such a way for every detail to fall on a person to be comfortable in certain way. Whereas the modern fashion is either it's too casual that you end up looking untidy or it's so pretentious that you're trying to be all sharp and like, कि वो pleat ऐसे रहे, वो brooch ऐसा लगे रहे. So that comfortability of fashion should just come back, I feel, in terms.
And it's become more uniform these days. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि जैसे सब
Yeah,
एक ही चीज पहन रहे हैं जो कि ट्रेंड है. ऐसा uniqueness I
yeah,
think is getting lost.
true, true. Yeah, completely.
So I watched the series, The Empire, and the costumes in this movie are quite different from the rest of the movies that are also based in Mughal era. How did you achieve that?
So like again, because there were so many films and web series and all made, like, on the Mughal Empire and all, like, even there are films like made by the best of the directors. So uh, my whole thing was like, again, like, what we miss on the maximum part is the rawness of the medieval times of fashion. Like, if you go back into like the 11th century or 12th century, we didn't have like, massiveness in garments. There were limited things because there was certain craftsmanship used in making certain things. And then that clan or that community will only do that. It won't be like, that there are subdivisions of making a outfit कि silk को linen के साथ mix करके बना दो ये कर दो. I'm talking about the medieval times and all, like, where uh, uh, the fashion, I wouldn't call fashion, it was more about showing, if you're a king, you're showing the grandeur, and you're a peasant, you look at the peasant. So there was a very thorough bifurcation in fashion, like, so what we always miss out on when you're doing like something which is ancient or medieval is the rawness. So for me, if I'm showing a king who is a warrior king and I show him in like, beautiful brocades and zardozis, I'm somewhere missing it out because he's a warrior king. I would see the casualness of this character to that he knows that I want to wear this because I might have to be on a war front or I want to wear an armor over it. So I should be comfortable inside because it'll be hot and sunny and maybe you have to hide yourself somewhere. So I started building up these characters, seeing these things. Because even if you see the Empire, there were so many wars, there are so many scenes in the show which showed them to escape and all those things. So I wouldn't look into something which looks, very elegant. But in that elegance, how I get the rawness was something was challenging. Like now, too, so I got a lot of influence from the Central Asian fashion, which was, if you see the entire belt of Uzbekistan to like going up to Turkey or coming down to Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. There are certain, if you go to the older medieval terms of seeing garments and all, there's a lot of similarities coming up till Punjab, if you watch. Like we show that, that I feel that the entire Turkey coming to Uzbekistan to coming to Afghanistan to Punjab, till Punjab, it is still salwar and kurte with dupattas became such a integral, like, fashion, like, I think. So those connections, so when I do these kind of medieval shows or something which is so ancient, I try to see what is happening there right now and I go like to the back because then you get a very nice connection to why that fashion is reached here right now. So I make this connections that way, like, so I wouldn't go like कि मैं सीधा मतलब कि हाँ मतलब तब उन्होंने अंग रखे पहने तो मुझे अंग रखा से स्टार्ट करने बट आई विल ट्राई टू सी कि जब वो अंग रखा निकालेंगे तो व्हाट्स देयर इनसाइड which would be a basic kurta which people wear now. So these kind of little details I try to which will not be visible because there might not be the scene where you will see Babar removing the kurta but removing the angrakha. But I know for my satisfaction that the angrakha is inside and if it's visible, it's going to look cool.
Sometimes the film also does not do justice to some of the costumes यार. Like I want to look at the costume पर वो इतना सा एक fraction of second के लिए दिख रहा है फिर हट जाता है. कई बारी वो एक
Yeah.
सिर्फ किसी चीज के थ्रू मतलब एक खिड़की के थ्रू दिख रहा है. And I was like पूरा आउटफिट देखना है मेरे को कैसे देखूं. It does not do justice.
But yeah, but luckily, some of the directors whom I work with, I try to like, sir, इसका दुपट्टा बहुत अच्छा दिख रहा है, please दिखा दो, ma'am, please show this. Pata it's been sourced from somewhere. I push, and sometimes some of the directors do like agree and they try to take it that way, like in a way, because even in the Empire, the jewelry was something which was too like amazing for us. So we knew some vendor whom I met in Dubai. Uh, uh, who could get a jewelry from Afghanistan. So we use the real Afghani pieces on all our main actors. Even what those the crowns which were made, we had got these real Afghan turquoise and motifs to make. We've broken the pieces and made into like turbans and we've added those things on it, the chokers and necklaces. A lot of jewelry will, if you really see it, there's uniqueness in the jewelry which you don't see it like regular, like, because a lot of Afghani jewelry is in right now but to get the jewelry pieces from there, the real silver, real like pieces, expensive pieces, we made them like put. So only our main characters we try to do like Shabana's these necklaces and all were made from such pieces and all. Like even her that those capes what she's wearing were we sourced this from Uzbekistan. The ikat what they wear there. So we and it's a very Uzbeki thing to wear. Like so we got these things and we did embroidery on it and also. And there was a lot of that. Again, I used the Central Asian embroidery, which was such a unique embroidery, which is so close to Fulkari in a way. It is so similar to Fulkari in so many ways. There's geometrical flowers, geometrical patterns and motifs. If you check, you will feel, oh my God, this looks the inspiration where it's come from and it might have merged in certain way, like, so we use that.
Oh wow. And the fur shawls, they were like really, really heavy fur shawls they were wearing, जो winter वाला part उसमें दिखाया है ना. They were
Yeah, because
very
we're showing that
thick.
Uzbekistan and Afghanistan, they're like massive snowfall and like, back then, so using animal fur and like skin. So of course we didn't use the real ones. But again, like, we had gotten a lot of things from, when you go to, it's a very touristy thing to go. When you go to, have you been to Dubai? There is that entire global village. There is a very
I
known place
have,
called Global
हाँ.
Village in Dubai where, there are stalls and people from every part of the world, they come and put the unique things what they buy. So I made friends with some Afghani sellers, some Kashmiri sellers, and some like
हाँ.
and took their cards and contact, and then spoke to them. And Dubai is something which is so easy to commute and get things. So like I'd got so from Afghanistan the things reached Dubai. From Dubai I got them here like to me, and we used a lot of things that way. Like some of the things were real fur. I wouldn't deny you had to use that real fur because I was getting it from the vintage markets of Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. So we use those. The entire series is, I wouldn't call it very prim and proper. There was very rustic rawness to it. There's always a very rustic feel to it. Yes.
I felt like I looked at the costumes and I was like, हाँ मतलब this makes sense कि ऐसे पहनते होंगे कि आज जैसे हमारे पास एसीज हैं या हीटर्स हैं उनको तो है ना वो इतना वो नहीं था तो वो कॉस्ट्यूम्स में मतलब रिफ्लेक्ट हो रहा था एक्चुअली कि हाँ थोड़ा प्रैक्टिकलिटी भी है ठीक है वो राजा है ऑफ कोर्स उसके पास सारे जूल्स और सब चीज है पर उतना फ्लैम्बॉयंट भी नहीं है कि वो इतना इम्प्रैक्टिकल लगे एंड दैट इज आई थिंक व्हाट मेड इट स्टैंड आउट फ्रॉम द रेस्ट ऑफ द कॉस्ट्यूम्स based in
Thank you.
Mughal
Yeah.
era. Okay, I think we've already talked about how you manage like एक तरफ संजय लीला भंसाली के लिए गंगूबाई and other दूसरी तरफ आपने मंटो के लिए डिजाइन किए हैं which are completely realistic and authentic and you just told me that मंटो के costumes देख के एसएलबी ने आपको अप्रोच किया
हाँ
था
जी.
क्या
Yes.
दिस इज सो वियर्ड मैंने नहीं एक्सपेक्ट किया था कि मंटो के कॉस्ट्यूम्स देख के मतलब मंटो के कॉस्ट्यूम्स कहाँ मतलब हैं और उनका एस्थेटिक कहाँ है और वो देख के उन्होंने आपको सिलेक्ट किया कि अच्छा ये दैट इज सो स्ट्रेंज साउंड स्ट्रेंज टू मी
Also, I think why he would have chosen Manto to watch also for the fact that, there is this Gangubai is about the red light area and prostitution. And Manto spoke a lot about
Yeah.
prostitution. So I think
Hmm.
there is some kind of connect. And I always feel that there's connect between Manto and Gangu also. Gangu wore a lot of white. When you read in the book of Zaidi, Hussein Zaidi, the Mafia Queens, उसमें Gangu का there is a chapter where he is mentioned. There is no photographic reference of Gangu. And again, Manto, he was a white kurta pajama wearing guy. So there is, I see a similarity in some way. I feel like, and then also, what was a very shocking reference for me was in that year in 2019, there was Padmavat and there were more films and there was Manto, which was nominated in Filmfare Awards. And they chose Manto to get best costumes. So I was like, there was Padmavat and I was just roaming around in the backstage because I was helping Rajkumar Rao for his performance outfit and all. And then suddenly I'm being told that, that you will be the next person to be winning an award because you hear it in the back that, and I was made to go and sit in the front seat because I have to walk back to get the award. And I was like, you won't believe, for some 10, 15 minutes, I was in a shock that I said, Padmavat ko hi milega, but it's brilliant, beautiful costumes. They're showing the grandeur and everything of India. Manto, in the contrary, was like poor India where everything is about like, लोग heat में घूम रहे हैं, लोग इससे partition से झुलस रहे हैं, those things. So I was very shocked.
I looked at those costumes and those छोटा छोटा prints जो पहले बूटी होती ना छोटी छोटी. That looked so lovely on
Floral,
screen, यार.
especially with Manto's wife, Safia,
Yes.
what we made the character. She, like, it was like because we know Manto is like white kurta pajama guy, which has to look like authentic, cool with chashma and all. Safia was our treat to make those beautiful prints and, like, it was pretty amazing.
I like go to the markets looking for those prints, but I don't find them anymore, yeah. But I looked in the movie and I was like, "Arey, this is, I wish, I
Yeah.
wish I could find
I'm
this somewhere in
sorry,
the
but
market today."
I will still say that for me, a lot of brilliant fabrics, you still get them in Delhi. Like
Really?
there are markets which are, yeah, there are amazing markets in around the area of Nehru Place and all. I make it a point that if I'm doing something very period and all, I look into markets of Delhi, Gujarat, Surat and all, like, where you get these beautiful textile and all. I do that.
हाँ आई डू दैट व्हाइल आई एम ट्रैवलिंग कि मतलब जब भी ऐसा कोई अभी यूरोप में मैंने इतना हर शहर में एक दिन ऐसा होता था जब आई टोल्ड काल कि एक दिन तुम कुछ और करना ही यूज टू फिल्म हिज वीडियोज एंड आई यूज टू गो ऑन अ वॉक ऐसा विंटेज स्टोर्स में एंड आई मेड अ कलेक्शन ऑफ ब्रोचेज एंड स्टफ और उसमें मतलब
How cool.
कॉलर्स वर्ल्ड वॉर टाइम के जो सिर्फ कॉलर्स होते हैं ना जो हैंड नेटेड कॉलर्स और ब्रोचेज
Yes,
एंड ऑल दोस
yes.
थिंग्स या सो व्हेनेवर आई ट्रैवल आई डू दैट
But that's the best part of traveling, like, you're going into these historical
फॉर मी इट इज
old markets and flea markets and picking up stuff from there. Yeah. And yeah. And some of these flea markets are beautiful in Paris and Berlin. They used to have a note of what, where, how it belongs to whom. If they have a
Yes.
reference to it, they put like a special note to it, which is so amazing.
या दैट इज व्हाट आई लाइक बेस्ट और वो भी ऐसा है ना कि 1920s में से कोई ब्रोच है और वो बहुत अलग दिखता है यार आजकल हम क्या वही सेम है ना वही हुप्स
Yeah.
स्टड्स वो सब दो तीन चीजें
Exactly.
लेकिन उस टाइम पे जो ब्रोच है उसका एक अलग ही डिजाइन है जो कि आज नहीं दिखता है
I think what was the beauty of that world was everything was hand done. So I think every detail, had the mindset of that person of maybe every day when he comes a different mindset and how that work would transform into something, 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 something. I think that's what I connect to handmade things.
Yeah, you're
It's not a one
absolutely
day
right.
job because
Yes. Tell us about the Marathi elements in the movie Chava, specifically in terms of, with the female characters, what they wore. What were the Marathi elements in their costumes?
so I think the Marathi element, what we feel is we always limit ourselves to like the Paithani saris or the Narayani Peth saris. But when especially when you're doing Queens and you're talking about like an empire, like so I don't want to limit myself, like so that's where then we went to again like I went to Kanchipuram and got some Nawari saris made from there, like because Kanchipuram would have 6 bar saris, but for a nice Nawari sari, we need 11 meters या 10 मीटर की साड़ी होती है जो so then we got these made and all like over there. Some we got it made in Varanasi. If you go walk into Varanasi, there are like small homes who still have retained handloom. Those entire thaka they have where they make saris in the house. So we got these vendors They took like good 2 to 3 months to make sarees. Then I also went to Paitan, Evla to pick like, beautiful textile. Like, there's this, I've kept one of the sarees, which is Chandrakala. Chandrakala is like, old, I don't know, what this piece would be, but, it's full real silver, the work. It's right now so cold when I touch it. It's brilliant, like, so these textiles we took as inspiration to. Make those queens. If I will show you see the inside also, look at and
Hmm.
see the amount of, like, the way and it's so heavy. Like, if you see this sari, you'll be like, oh my God, like, it's literally like that. So, like, these, then also like Paithani, like, which this one piece I kept with me because this was hand woven cotton Paithani, because you don't get these kind of borders now that easily. Like, yeah, you see, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you don't get these kind of Paithanis anymore now. Like,
Hmm.
this was one of the pieces what we saw in the Kelkar Museum, and we photographed it very well, and we got it made into like, like a proper, like, an old school Paithani sari, like, like a vintage Paithani, and it's fully cotton. So, like, so
Wow.
these little details, because you then revamping the textile which existed at some point, and and luckily we are still in India where you still have handloom as an integral part. When you
Hmm.
go to Chanderi, there's an entire Chanderi textile. You go to South, insane amount of textile, Kanchipuram to like South Cotton to like Upada. You have crazy textile, and you go like to Varanasi, you go to Calcutta, Balucheris and Jamdanis. Like, so we still have these specialized people there existing in our country, like, where you can get these things done. It takes time. We just need to be a little more equipped with the time management to kind of get things, and how we kind of like, mix match. And also, I went to Jodhpur during this Chhawa thing only, where I picked these very old. You in Rajasthan, you've seen there are places where they sell only borders. The old borders which are 100, 200 years old. They are real silver. Now, so we got those borders and we put them into new textile. We formed like a sari out of it. Like, so again, it was like restoring the borders in a very interesting way, so that, and then.
You told me there was a
Hanji.
Himru border somewhere as well.
Yeah, we used the entire Himru border, which we then pasted on a silk sari. Because the Himru is so delicate, no, because it's like so finely woven. It's like a jal completely. So we got the pallu ka end, which is one of the scenes where she's actually kept on her head also. It's visible, like, in the film when you watch it. And we used the Paithani border. So we also mixed, because we weren't able to get the border to similar looking. So we mixed the Hindu ka pallu to the Paithani border. So we did this experimenting with textile, like, in a way, in the film. If you watch the film, you see Rashmika's quite a few sari. Even some of these other characters, we made them look slightly like, no, as core to the drawings or the references what are in the paintings. We went into that. Then, of course, we looked into the references from the late 1800s, early 1900s, where the women wore the old textile. There are a lot of black and white images and all of queens. So we took those also as a way of draping, because I think till 1900s or 1800s there was no internet. There was no, so I think people would be still retaining the old world. So if I'm getting a picture from 1910 or 1890, I don't think the things would have changed, because people might be following the tradition of the culture, because internet wouldn't have come. So I relate it to that way, like, So then you're not wrong. I think what went wrong is post internet coming in.
That's when we yeah got spoiled.
Yeah, their entire manipulation and, chalta hai business started, like,
Yeah, yeah, shortcuts. We started taking shortcuts.
Yeah, true.
Okay, that's the end of it, Sheetal. Thank you so much for your time.
Cool.
I really, really enjoyed
Thank
this
you.
conversation.
Amazing. I'm glad that you enjoyed, because also, as we mentioned, like, there's similarities of interest, which just makes it more interesting and beautiful, I think. Not everybody would understand the old world charm. I think very few are left right now. I think you should retain that and take it carry forward. You're doing a great job of introducing the old photographs of old fashion and making them into vlogs. I think it's great and it's amazing. Please keep doing it.
Thank you. And I'm so glad I've got this small community of people who have same interests as well, who are actually enjoying watching this. Because मैं सिर्फ इसलिए बना रही हूँ कि मुझे अच्छा लगता है. But to see कि अच्छा ऐसे और भी लोग हैं जिनको अच्छा लगता है, and to have a small community
Yeah,
like that. And you know, it's
amazing.
also, and that is why I tried this series. Yeah, I could go on for another 2 hours, Sheetal, but I'm sure you must be tired. But thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you for your
Manisha.
time,
Thank
Sheetal.